Duke would find themselves strapped into a small electric car called the Rover, bouncing across the lunar plateau known as Descartes.
The old water bag is working super. This is going to be a good day, Charlie. Yow! Woo! Man, that's a great big skid. We're doing 10 clicks, Tony. It's been rained on.
Yet less than 2 days before, it looked as though this would never happen. It was, in Young's words, a real cliffhanger. The Marshall Space Flight Center team was working on a launch vehicle gyroscope problem that threatened to scrub the mission. Less than an hour before liftoff, their advisory to the Kennedy Space Center launch team was go. The liftoff had been perfect.
Roger, 5-9 Jim, and we're sailing free. Stand by 1, Jim. Okay, we're on.
The next maneuver was for Mattingly to burn the main engine of his spacecraft to put it into a circular orbit. Set up an ultraviolet camera to provide the first astronomical observations from the moon. He took pictures of the Earth's upper atmosphere and magnetosphere, and their interaction with the solar wind. He also photographed the interstellar gas present throughout space and the ultraviolet halos that appear around galaxies. Astronomers have long wanted a telescope on the moon. Perhaps this experiment would show the moon an ideal base for future astronomical observations.
I'm not leaning on
Duke drilled a hole into which a heat flow probe was to be placed, part of one of the experiments attached to the station. As Duke drilled, Young set up the central station and the remainder of the experiments. Then, what many considered the biggest disappointment of the mission.
Probably just some rocks down there in the regolith, Tony. You know, it looks, I bet it's just like the side of that fresh crater we saw back near the limb. Charlie, what? Something happened here. What happened? I don't know. Here's a line that pulled loose. Uh-oh. What line is it? That's the heat flow. Pulled it off. Kind of sorry. I didn't even know it.
They continued to sample the area and activate the experiments. Then they returned to the rover and prepared for their first trip away from the landing site in search for geological samples.
And here we go.
Their first traverse would take them about 1 kilometer west of the landing site. They would make 2 stops to collect samples and conduct experiments.
10529 in your flight plan.
But I couldn't pick a better spot. John, you're just beautiful. That is the most beautiful sight. What's that? You're standing there on the rim of that crater.
This guy, I don't really know. You're going to have to use a hand.
Young used a portable instrument to measure the local magnetic field. He would later record the most intense magnetic field ever found on the moon.
Man, you are really bouncing. Is he on the ground at all? That's 10 kilometers. Huh? He's got about 2 wheels on the ground. Okay, turn sharp. I have no desire to turn sharp. Okay, here's the Sharpie. Hey, that's great. He's a big rooster tail. We could see to the bottom. We could say for sure if this big black rock is right out of the bottom. But my guess from the old photographs is it probably is. Okay, that sounds like a good guess.
God, you mean they weren't at it? No. It looked like they were standing right there.
Look at the size of that